Today we're going to take a more in-depth look at the C2100 monitor by going through the task controller as well as looking at some other more advanced features that you can find on this monitor. So we're going to go ahead and first go into the file, which brings up our task controller. As you can see, this is one of the larger changes you see with the C2100 monitor versus the old C2000 monitor on the Gleaner S-Series combines, as well as, not to mention, that it also has an internal processor now so that you can actually start this task without inserting an SD card at all. The processor has all the memory you need to get the task going and save multiple tasks, and then you can later save it with a thumb drive and put it onto your software on your laptop. So we're going to go ahead and first escape and start a new task. As you can see, it's already been dated for you, this new task that we will run. We can select customer, and we'll just go ahead, pick one here, and then next we need to select the farm. And then we also select the field. Now keep in mind, with this populated already, it was either done by manually putting this in the monitor ahead of time or also putting it in your software at home. Keep in mind that you can install all the information you need to on your laptop at home and then import it onto the task controller of your C2100 monitor. Otherwise, if this was completely fresh and new, you would have to manually put this in the monitor, or also, like I said, your software at home, then import it into the monitor. So now we're ready to go, so we'll hit a green check mark, and we have the task selected that we want to run. So now we have this icon is going to mean the task itself. As you see, move on to the next one. It's going to be the map, and that'll come more into play as you start collecting yield data. The next icon is the marker. Here is where you can put in a certain operator. So say if you have a fleet of combines, you can assign an operator to each combine. Now the next one is going to be an implement. So this definitely applies on the seeding and tillage side, but you can also say put the size of the head that you're running. Here's the field, which we have that information put in here. And the farm, like we've looked at. Next one will be the customer. This icon will be the product, and here will be the crop. You can decide what type of crop you're running right now. So if we want to put in, we'll go ahead and just put in a new crop. We're going to name it corn. Now that's been selected. There's also a setup screen. This is going to help you show you what software. Make sure you have the most up-to-date software. And then also your data transfer. So as you can see here, export or import. This is where you're either going to be able to save the information that you have on the monitor onto your thumb drive, or take the information from the thumb drive and import it onto the monitor. Also notice here shows the capacity of how much storage you still have left. Right now we're using just 8% of the internal processor storage on this monitor. And here's the important one. Once you have selected the task that you're going to run, you need to first and foremost be able to understand that you have to hit this split screen. This is what's going to allow your test to start running once you've created or selected it. So we'll click that. And now you have it split for the task itself running, and then also the map down here. So you see here we can go further into the task, the map. Now here is the summary information. Once you start going, now you can see the summary of everything that this task has collected. And also, here's a new icon also, task notes. Any notes that you want to put in as you go along that you notice while during the day, during the entire field, that you feel is important, you can put them right here. So we'll go back out. One more. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is just hit the start button up here. Now that we have hit that, the task is started. You can see by the green symbol over here on the file, and also a stop sign came up. So if you ever need to stop the task, you will just hit the stop, and then you will stop. Now what's important is we go back to the combine itself. Now you can also see up here, task running. So by seeing this as well as this, that indicates that the task is in operation and that as you go into the field, it'll be collecting the data for this particular field, customer, farm, etc. Also, you'll want to make sure too, since yield is going to be so important for this, that you do have the active width. Say if you're changing heads, you do want to make sure that if you need to decrease it, now you have it decreased what you need to do, or you can even shift it over, things like that, depending on what you're doing in the field as you go. But you can change the active width of this head as well as how much or what part of the head is actually collecting crop for the yield. Now the other important part too, if you're going along the field and collecting this data, you can also make sure to hit yield hold if you hit a certain area where you don't feel like you want to have that information be part of the yield. So you just hit yield hold, and now all of a sudden the task controller will not be collecting any more data until you take that off. And now if you just want to go ahead and go back into here, and once you're done and ready to stop this task for the day, just go ahead and hit the stop. And now your task is stopped. And just like we talked about earlier, now once you're ready, you can go back into the summary and review everything. Look in here in the control as far as any target or actual amounts that you were going for. And then go back to the task itself. Now this is opened up. You can go back to full screen. And once you go back to full screen, now you can go down here, and then you'll be able to, like we talked about, export this information to your thumb drive so that you can put it onto your laptop for information. Now keep in mind too, that information will stay on this task controller until you physically go to delete that task. And by doing that is only the active task right here. You just go down here and hit delete task. If you hit it, it's going to ask you, are you sure if you want to delete this? Hit the green check mark and it will delete that active task, but it's only going to delete the active one, so any other stored ones will not be affected by that. So if you do want to start deleting tasks to get it off your internal processor memory, just make it active, then delete it, and it's gone. So now you should know how to run your task controller correctly, and as well also know any advanced features also to go with it to make sure that you can collect yield data properly on your new C2100 monitor.